Well, joining me first on top of the debate is Panda, Panda, the National Vice President of the BJP and a significant leader because he's also in charge of the Assam and Delhi BJP units. And I found it remarkable, Mr. Panda, that you were taking the Chinese head on, absolutely head on. What is the message you are trying to send?
You know, the Chinese keep provoking India. I think they're constantly trying to test our will. I think the leadership of Prime Minister Modi has made it abundantly clear. We faced them off and gave them back in their own coin at Galwan. But they keep provoking. So recently there was this report in the media that they have taken to so-called renaming some of the areas which are in our Arunachal Pradesh. Now, see, I don't speak for government. I'm not in government. And although I'm an office bearer in the party, as a citizen of India, it is very disconcerting for me that they should behave like that. And as a student of history, I know that India has had long civilizational links with Indian settlements in many parts of China. And so we can certainly, two can play at this game. If they want to make all these untenable claims about Arunachal Pradesh, we too can make similar claims. So I have pointed out, I'm conducting a poll online, and I have pointed out 4 areas where there have been Indian settlements over history, and I have suggested new Indian names for them. And so I think there is a tremendous response online. People are voting on this poll. My intention is to get sort of a temperature check, a mood of the people out there. But certainly the Chinese.
What do you say, Mr. Panda? We put out a poll right here on the program. While you're saying this, would you like a poll on Republic as well? Let's do it online. What do you say?
I think that's a great idea because Arnab, you are known for standing up for India's national interest, and Republic has a huge audience. I think it will be wonderful to hear them. The 4 areas that I have pointed out, for example, in 2000 years ago, the then Han Kingdom annexed Yunnan. Yeah. Yunnan is a province in China today, but at that time they found an Indian settlement which they call Sindhu, which is obviously derived from Sindhu. So I've asked in my poll whether we should start referring to that area not as Yunnan, but as, say, Sindhu Nagar. And similarly, there are caves in Gansu district which have paintings which are clearly of Indian influence. Maybe we should call it Ajanta East. And there was a Tamil settlement 800 years ago in the Guangzhou province. And there are about a dozen temples there. So maybe we should call that Kanchipuram East. And most importantly, Xinjiang province, where they have been accused of lots of human rights violations. Xinjiang province got that name only in the 19th century when they divided up Turkestan with Russia. And this is the eastern part of Turkestan. And there is one part of that area which had a great Sanskritic culture for many millennia. And people used to speak a language there called Gandhari. So perhaps we should start referring to that area not as Xinjiang, but as Gandharva Pradesh.
Oh, were you being rhetorical? Are you being rhetorical? Were you being rhetorical? Jay, for all the time I've known you, you're not a pugilistic kind of guy. But this is a pugilistic tweet from a man who otherwise is very measured with his words. Why the pugilism? And you are the National Vice President of the BJP. You're not speaking in an individual capacity. So obviously, there's a message you're sending out. What message is that?
No, I must make it clear that on this issue, I am indeed speaking in my individual capacity as a citizen of India. We have not discussed this matter in the party circles. And certainly, I don't speak for government. But, as an Indian citizen, I don't want to take such things lying down. And I have not suggested that we take any action as such. I have just thrown these up as possibilities. And the poll that I'm conducting online, and I hope you will conduct on your show, is to get a sense of the mood of the people of India as to whether we should do it or not. The online poll is showing 94% of people are in favor of doing it. But of course, there are many considerations that a government must take into account. But certainly we can express our feelings in a manner, in a language which the Chinese understand.
And today, Mr. Amit Shah, when he was visiting Arunachal Pradesh, he said Kibutu, which you also referred to, is India's first village and not the last village. So this is obviously a change in approach. I think it's very, very significant. But the question will be, in your view, and you study foreign policy and strategic affairs also closely, are we good enough to take them on right now? Because we're still building our military infrastructure in the border areas. We've done some great work in the last few years, but some strategic affairs experts say we're still a few years away from achieving sort of optimal efficiency in terms of logistics, deployment, troop deployment, unit deployment, missile deployment in those areas.
I think you have asked a very important question. Now, look, their comments on our Home Minister's visit to Arunachal Pradesh are completely unwarranted. Decades ago, they had absolutely no such claim on Arunachal Pradesh. They keep on extending their claims, which are totally untenable, and we don't accept it. The Indian government has made it abundantly clear. Now, regarding your question, I'm not advocating hostility. I'm not advocating that we take them on, and India is not a hostile nation. India is welcomed around the world with its economic rise as a nation that is helpful, that helps other countries during the pandemic and economically after the pandemic. The reality is that, just because we are not hostile doesn't mean that we are going to bend over either. So the problem with the border areas has been that, for the past half a century, the Chinese were building their infrastructure on the LAC while we were sleeping. And it is only now, under the Modi government, that the infrastructure building on our side of the LAC has been stepped up, that they are doing all these provocations. So just like our government is not going to cow down to any of their provocations on our infrastructure building, why should we cow? Not being hostile doesn't mean that we won't speak our mind.
Yeah, but this is, I think, I don't know how you look at it. I think China is really testing our patience. It's holding similar progress and talks with Bhutan. There was a contrarian statement from the Bhutan government recently, which they then clarified to in their recent visit of the Bhutanese king to India. But I don't know. I think China likes to do this to distract from its own domestic issues. And I think your statement is welcome, because your statement, though you say you're speaking as a solitary citizen, let me assure you, you're not. You're not. As you said, 94%, I'd say 99% are going to be with you. 100% of the people are going to be with you because we have ambitions which China cannot digest, Jay. Isn't that the reality, that we are going to compete with them for a share of the world GDP?
Look, the reality is that we are not going to ourselves provoke them for no good reason. And you're right, the Chinese keep probing because they're constantly working on their own geopolitical principles, and they're testing our will constantly by probing. You mentioned what they're trying to do in Bhutan and trying to do with other nations. And we must also step up our efforts. I think in Foreign Minister Jaishankar, we have a brilliant effort going on explaining to the world what New India is, our friendly but not servile attitude. And so we will certainly make it clear that we will respond in kind, and there will be diplomatic efforts. And these are, there are so many different ways of taking on geopolitics. They are trying to rename territories which are clearly within India's sovereign control is just provocation.
Absolutely.
And as I said, two can play that game.
Yeah. I just hope everyone in the political class also speaks with the same common intent. But it's good to see Jay Panda speaking up today. Jay, always a pleasure. Thanks for setting up my debate. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.